Welcome back to Mindkind Podcasts. This is Dr. Jo North returning to our platform. Mindkind continues to be a reflective space for anyone who wants to stay sane in our demanding world. Our intention is to inspire, motivate and inform people of all ages interested in mental health and well-being. I'll be drawing on 35 years of practice as a psychotherapist, and we'll be looking at research and therapy along the way and talking with other experts in the field so we can draw on their skill. Nothing in this podcast is intended to cause you shock or surprise. If you think a subject is going to cause any triggering to any conditions that you have, please don't listen and just choose another podcast of interest. If you happen to be in a podcast and something in there triggers some kind of anxiety or stress for you, please switch off straight away and contact your mental health professional. If something affects the mind, we'll be talking about it. So let's get on with today's podcast. Hi, Jo here. Here I am back from holidays and trying to hold on to the feeling of the holiday and that feeling of calm and timelessness. You know, we all do that. We hit the ground, don't we? And then it's as life comes at us. The bills come at us and the work comes at us, and then we adjust and adapt. But I have to say, you know, it's not the easiest thing. Sometimes I use the analogy for people of snakes and ladders, because I think that life is so like that. You know, you're on the board and sometimes you hit a ladder and up you go and it's all feeling good and you get your jobs done and it all fits in like the shapes going into a shape sorter. And then all of a sudden the snake comes looming and you go down a snake and you have to go with it. And such a good game for children. It really teaches them, hey, you know, bad luck, because sometimes we go down a snake. And that is real life, you know, in every respect. I know we hear a lot of success stories and it's fab to hear about success, but, you know, there will be a real life journey in that process. So we get carried away thinking, oh, there's somebody around here who's having it really easy. No, I don't think that's true. We're all trying to live our lives as human beings on this beautiful, beautiful planet with everything in the mix. And money has nothing to do with it. I'm always saying that. Nobody can tell me anything about being poor. I've done it. And life's exactly the same as when you're, you know, earning plenty, or even if you're a very wealthy person. You can't throw money at emotional issues, can't throw money at too many issues, actually. It just takes your mind and it takes your endurance and your capacity to hang in there to sort out life as it flies at you. So that's what I'm thinking this week as I get back from my holiday. One good technique I learned, I think it was an NLP technique, but everybody takes everybody's techniques these days in psychology and psychotherapy, but it's the technique of anchoring. And you can anchor a feeling or an experience that you want to remember by perhaps anchoring it into a body sensation. You could pinch your wrist or pinch your hand or ping an elastic band. Or I anchored my holiday experience of slowing down and calming down and getting more sense of giving my natural rhythm a chance. I took a beautiful shell off the beach. It's a huge beach. There were a lot of shells. I don't think I was depriving anyone. And it was just like I put it on my coffee table. So when I sit down and relax in the evenings, it's there and it's a reminder. And I just hold it and remember, hey, you know, remember that calm place, because you can bring it home with you. The other thing I brought home with me is a burnt nose. Not good. Not a good idea to get anything burnt by the sun these days. So never mind about that. I brought home with me very little weight gain, about a pound, but that's normal fluctuation. So sticking to that time-related eating frame on holiday, which was so easy and so comfortable for both of us, worked. I didn't blast my system. I didn't kill myself with excess food. I had every right to come home and feel pleased with myself. So here's me feeling pleased with myself. And I hope you feel pleased with yourself if you're finding a great eating window that's just perfect for you. and you are sticking with it, whether it's a 12-12 or a 14-10 or a 16-8 or an 18-6 or anything in between. I mean, it can be 17 and whatever that is. Is it 5, 18, 9, 20? No, I don't know. Do the maths on that. It can be anything. It can be half hours as well. You know, you can extend it every half an hour here and there. My average is about a 5.5 hour eating window. On holiday, it was 6. We had lovely food. We chose all the best food for ourselves and some great kind of flip out food as well. So that hedonic enjoyment, pleasure center eating had every piece of satisfaction. I just stepped within a window. So that works, guys. You can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So, what is the learning for us this week? 3 points this week. In fact, there were 15 learning points. On holiday, I wrote a research paper on time-related eating. When I get it published, I will put it on my website, but that's what someone like me does on a holiday. I know it's okay. I actually enjoyed it. And so I pulled out some fantastic learning points from there, which I'm going to go through every week. But it's the end of April, so it's my monthly recce up with the diary and find out what's been going on. What have I learned? There are 15 learning points. So it's there on the website. You know, if you remember, you can actually see the diary, the daily clawing through life by my fingers. And then if you sign up, you can just get the monthly newsletter anyway and just have the learning points if you don't want to come on to the Food Sane group. But on the Food Sane group, we've got a food tracker. You can track your food and your mood. And I put mine up for everyone to see. And we've got the training in food sane behaviors and thinking. And we've got 2 chapters of the book, and you get the diary every month. You get the blow by blow account of me and time related eating. So the research was based on a year of time-related eating, and I took all of that data and I sorted through the themes. That's called auto-ethnographic research, but that's just a label we can stick on it, and it came up with these great themes of learning. And I can tell you that the most significant one was that of the use of compassion when you're struggling and the real genuine outcome of talking to yourself in a compassionate way as you go through your life, but particularly as you go through your eating journey and the way that you hold yourself in your window, because there is no doubt it does require some effort, you know. I mean, I don't think I ever pretend in my diary that sometimes I don't find sticking to that window a little bit difficult. And I do experience some hunger. When I'm eating and I'm having fun. And in my downtime, I do sometimes struggle with some hunger. So I can't pretend it's easy, but I know it's just that kind of, it's memory hunger, it's time clock hunger, it's habitual hunger. It's not that desperate need to eat hunger that comes after a fast. And Jason Fung would call that homeostatic hunger. So that's a natural need to put food and energy into the body. So, yeah, don't ever get the idea, oh, that's a breeze. I have to be disciplined, but there's all sorts of good things I can tell myself about the time when I'm not eating. And some of the good things include, you know, it's fine because you can eat tomorrow. Your window opens at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and you can eat what you want. Just hold it off till tomorrow, is one of my favorite things. And also, I just remind myself, I have a sip of water and I remind myself it's okay because you're just tummy rumbling and having a little grumble. But you know, actually, I prefer the feeling of being empty when my tummy empties out after about 5 hours after eating. I just go, oh, that feels good. I feel relaxed. I feel calm and I feel peaceful. So there's a lot of really great payoffs. You just need a little bit of time to notice them. So I'm wishing you well with that. And if you want to share your journey with us, please come and join us on Food Sane. It's only £10 a month, and it's just great to be in community and share that growth and development. Okay, so lots of learning, isn't there? One of the things, and it's not even on my list, but it's going to be my learning number one, is that as you embark on this time-related eating voyage, it is actually a development journey. It's a self-development journey because you develop in so many ways. It's not just about an eat, you know, it's not just about controlling food, which, let's face it, is terribly boring. It is the most exciting self-development journey. And I've met so many great people who are having a really great experience with their eating journey. I met my beautiful friend yesterday. We went to a plant festival, believe it or not. Yeah, we went to a plant festival. We talked for about 5 hours non-stop and looked at plants and had lunch. And she was telling me that she'd been off her time-related eating because like life had got in the way and things had been going on, and of course that happens. And oh, she put on a bit of weight and she didn't feel so good. And now she's back to her time-related eating. And so she's really enjoying getting back on the raft. And I talked with her about, the lovely thing is that it's not like, oh no, I've got to go on a restrictive diet tomorrow. And we don't even use that word in the food sane community. It's just like, oh, just step on the raft and let's sail on through because you can have plenty of good food. Just watch your window now. And I could see it was a real anchor point for her, a real resting point. So really, that was just a joy to see her so happy. Isn't that one of the wonderful things in life when you see something working to do time-related eating? You don't have to pay anyone anything. You just have to be convinced by the science and by the data now that this is really, really worth doing and worth looking at. And I'd say to anyone who's skeptical, I tell you what, just do it for a day. Just do it. I never mind a week or a month. Just do it for a day. Tell me how you feel at the end of a day, because I'd love to hear about it. Okay, so learning number one is the most exciting. You will develop emotionally. You will manage your emotions far better as you manage your food far better. You will develop cognitively because you will have more ability to let that cognitive thinking brain kick in if things are emotional and difficult. You will, in my view, I have found myself developing spiritually. Now, that there is an easy link there because there are many, many spiritual pathways that prescribe fasting as a methodology, if you like, or a way to experience yourself spiritually or your relationship with your God, whoever that may be. And I feel a return to myself that is peaceful and prayerful and in need of slowing down. And certainly, I have a deepening reverence for life as I have more time and space inside myself. And believe me, that time and space isn't created by, well, time management's a brilliant thing. And as you know, I'm really big on it. But that time and space is created by a deepening respect for my central nervous system and for not provoking cortisol, watching myself create panic and learning not to do that and being much more mindfully aware, to use probably a Buddhist term, or more prayerfully aware, if you like, of what is actually going on and not reacting. Doesn't mean to say I'm getting it right all the time, as you will know from my last podcast, because, we can all react, can't we? We always find a hook in. I just love to hear that developmental journey for people, whether it's the simplest, tiniest step of feeling better about yourself, of respecting yourself more, of thinking, oh, you want to wear your best outfit today because you're feeling your best, or you want to, have relate more, or you want to create more dopamine hits in your life because you want to feel better, or anything. It doesn't matter. It's a developmental trend. Energy is supposed to flow and develop. We are supposed to be moving forward and learning. That's what our brains are for, until it's over. And then I can't really tell you what happens, but I'd like to guess. But anyway, here's lesson number one, and that is that there's always some learning from time-related eating. And it is not just about food control. It is a beautiful developmental journey. Everything starts to happen. If any of this resonates and you'd like personal support, you can work with me one-to-one. See the coaching page on foodsane.co.uk for details, or email me joanna@foodsane.co.uk and I will respond to you. The second piece of learning this month is really keeps coming back to how we slow things down and how we get to manage our body mind That's what keeps coming to the surface for me, and it seems so important. I have more understanding of the cortisol pathway, the way that the hormone cortisol can so deeply influence our behavior and our feeling of ourselves, but also how you can influence that and how the mind can influence that. So I've been noticing more, and one of the key tenets with food saying is just an invitation to notice more about what you're actually doing. And if you notice more, then you can control and manage. Awareness, as we used to say, is healing in itself. So you become more aware of your own behavior. What I notice is that I've been activating my own fight or flight system unnecessarily. And someone who knows me very well said to me the other day, well, you've been doing that all your life. And yeah, the urge to please and the urge to panic and the urge to have to react has been there. But that's not unusual. That's okay. So that's me, but that's all of us. So I noticed coming back from holiday that tendency for the mind to work itself into a state of panic, as if the dinosaur or the saber-toothed tiger is standing in the house, and then we start to have those panic thoughts. Oh, I'll never get this done, I'll never get everything back on track in time. And then we start to create that hormone, and it connects with stress, and it connects with eating, which is why it's so important for us to look at it, and sleeping and timing and the timing of our lives. And the more I understand this, the more clearly all the threads connect back to time related eating, which is really inviting us to take control of our own behavior. This is the kind of self-knowledge that genuinely helps us to calm, as genuinely a therapeutic model in itself. So let's just think a little bit about cortisol and what it is. So cortisol gets produced in our adrenal glands via the brain, the hypothalamus and the pituitary, and then the adrenals. And under normal circumstances, this self-regulates. So with rising cortisol, signaling then to the brain that it actually needs to calm itself down. So once it reaches a certain point, it regulates itself. But chronic stress or catastrophizing thought patterns override that self-regulation, and that catastrophizing tendency that we understand in ourselves. It's just like the worst case scenario. We absolutely keep reminding ourselves it will happen, it will happen. And when we get people who get terrible anxiety and who are terribly stressed and perhaps an OCD tendency, they simply cannot let go of the thought of the catastrophe happening, and that's a very uncomfortable place for people to be. And so one of the first things we have to say to ourselves, because we're all in this together, is, you're going to have to maybe try another way to think about this. I think it comes up, say, for example, with fear of flying, where people cannot get the thought out of their head that things aren't going to be safe. Whereas in fact, flying is crazily safe. And we have to help people understand that the reality, okay, there is fear in the world. Frightening things do happen, but they're not happening all the time. Is we could certainly start with that premise. So this is how we're provoking that fear, that cortisol, the brain message to the body system. Crank this up, get ready to defend yourself. So crucially, this process starts with a thought. And even more crucially, it can stop with the thought. And psychological tools can genuinely intervene and interrupt through self-talk or actions and behaviors. So, deciding to ignore a thought and just stretch, or deciding to distract yourself and read a book for a little while can change the thought. Or slow walking. I'm just particularly finding at the moment a really great way. You make your body slow, and it sends the message to the brain you're going to have to slow. And if you're walking slowly, you're giving a message to the brain that there's nothing chasing you at the very least. So it's a direct thread back to the brain. And this is what we're doing when we are self-managing, when we are regulating our system. So I think that sort of brings me back to the second piece of learning, which is this real importance of that cortisol management, that soothing of yourself, that recognition of how that happens, and the compassion that you show to yourself, because it will happen, probably first thing in the morning when you wake up, you get a flush of cortisol in your system to get you up, to get you going, to get you checking the world, making sure all is well, making sure everything's in place. So it's not your enemy. There's no point in making these inner experiences your enemy any more than there is a point in making your body the enemy. Not your enemy. It's just something that you have to see and recognize and calm and soothe. For a certain amount of time, cortisol can be quite useful. You can utilize it, make it happen. So, like today, I was up at my office. It's Saturday today, and I was up there getting it ready. I was, cleaning up the balcony and refreshing the plants and making it lovely so that when I go back, I can really get down and do my work properly. And I'll be up there hoovering. Yeah, use it. And that's marvelous. But it's about seeing and noticing, working with that. And I'm really big on that and how I've been allowing that to run me. So there you go. Join me with that. Tell me your cortisol journey. And also, watch how foods do that to you, because there's definitely foods that are going to soothe your system. Notice what foods soothe you and what foods are going to sort of crank up that ultra sugary, ultra processed stuff that's going to make you really, really dysregulated and uncomfortable. Alcohol, I'm afraid, probably does that to you. So give that some thought. Well, the third piece of learning is okay, really they're all linking into one another. So finding more peace, finding your inner self, finding your inner sanctum, if you like. I don't actually apologize for using terminology like that, because I think that young people today understand exactly what that means and understand exactly why we need to have inner peace, because we're dealing with such a complicated world. I'm not going to say horrible, because I think there's lots of beautiful things in our world, but it's really complex, and we need to be able to observe and manage really well to look after ourselves. And, where do you rest your thinking? Do you find that in your peaceful crafting? Do you find that in your particular faith? Do you find that in your yoga? Do you find that in doing the gardening? Do you find it in your cooking? Do you find it in connecting with others and talking? Do you find it in your music? It doesn't matter where you find it, and it'll be different for all of us. I am particularly finding it in going back to something I used to practice years ago, which is Kum Nye, which is a Tibetan Buddhist relaxation techniques. It's not actually a meditation, it's just physical movements that help relaxation, developed by the remaining Tibetan Buddhism guru, who is Tarthang Tulku. Now, I pulled out my old Kum Nye book, but you'll find all of these exercises online. So if you want to do some of them, it might not be your thing, but I find them so very simple. And when you're at your worst, you need to be able to do something simple. And it's really, really hard to get out of your head and back into your body. But, I find with Kum Nye, they invite the most simple of movements. So I've got to thank that gentleman, Tarthang Tulku, who is still alive, living in America, for this set of movements and for all of his writings on inner peace and quietness and meditation. And I actually found my old book, and I see that it's dated 1978. So even I was young when that was going on. But then I literally found the credit card statement from when I bought it, and they used to be written in hand. So it's a bit of it should really go in a museum, as it's dated March 1990. So that was a little while ago. But there's a treasured book, and I never ever thought I would get it out and bring it to the front of my library. And every day now I'm doing just a little movement from his book. And believe me, if I can do it, if I can stop my brain, I believe anyone can do that. So that's my piece. But I know that other people will find this in other ways. And it really, it can be looking after your baby. It can be following a recipe. My friend told me the other day, oh, she got out of her head and into her body and into life by picking up her little grandson from school, and his joy in life really shifted her. And don't little people give us that joy. So it doesn't matter where you find it. as long as you make it a priority, because it matters. It matters, and it will affect the way you eat. And in Food Sane, we're always looking for helping people find their inner peace and their inner focus as a way to bring the brain to a state of contentment and happiness, if you like. And I've talked before about the work of Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi, who did the research years and years back on happiness and being engaged in mindful activity. So that was a super piece of research. That's where we're going to end it today. So 3 pieces of learning, all interconnected because everything is in the end, and all really with the central theme of finding inner peace through reducing cortisol and eating in that time frame that helps you manage yourself and finding your inner peace through activities other than eating, because overeating will not give you an inner peace. It will just give you inner discomfort and make your body work over time. So we're helping you find that pathway. Come and join us at Food Sane, foodsane.co.uk, and I can't wait to talk to you again next week. Let's see what's going on. Take care. Bye. Thank you for listening. Check out the next episode on our platform. Don't forget, I'm a doctor of psychotherapy, not medicine or clinical psychology. My expertise lies in the field of applied psychology through psychotherapeutic models of practice. This podcast is not intended for diagnosis or treatment of any kind. If you are concerned about your mental health, do consult your doctor, who will guide you. If you are ever in a mental health crisis within the UK, dial 999. In all other parts of the world, check your mental health facilities or turn to someone who will support you.